Jack, would you ever date someone older?
I don't know. I feel like my ideal would be someone who was a bit older but looked my age. So that had their shit together but didn't look... I just don't love a beard.
You don't like a beard?
No, I don't.
No, that's another episode. I love a beard.
No, I just think that's so bristly and annoying. If you're young at heart and young at face, then perfect. If you're 40 and you've got the bank account of a 40-year-old, but you look like a 30-year-old and your heart's 30, then you're going to live for ages because your pulmonary system is live and kicking.
Exactly.
Stunning.
You are up for that.
I get in my basket.
Fair enough.
But then sometimes I also just think it's like justification for exploitative relationships. The old soul thing is, which we are going to touch on.
Yeah.
And obviously, like, we can acknowledge that a minor and an adult is illegal and not on, but there is also clearly a big difference between like 18 and 40 being a 22-year-old age gap and 40 and 62 being a 22-year-old age gap.
And I think this is fantastic because we do need to delve more into it about like the nuances. It's a nuance. Okay. And we're going to take a closer look at Sam and Aaron Taylor-Johnson.
Oh, I have thoughts.
I have many thoughts.
I have a whole book of
I'm
thoughts.
ready to tell you my thoughts.
Yes.
We're also talking about Stephen Fry, Sarah Paulson, and of course, Leo DiCaprio. Leonardo, the one and only. The Don Dada of dating younger, hot
sub 25-year-old women for the entirety of his life.
Exactly.
Yes. Proceed.
Let's go. I'm Sarel.
And I'm Jack Remmington, and this is Famously in Love, the podcast where we get up close and personal with those familiar strangers, celebrities.
We'll be deep diving into everything from love children to workplace romances, affair-based feuds to the strange phenomena of family members dating exes.
Imagine.
Ooh.
From BBC Sounds, this is Famously in Love.
So, today's episode is all about age gaps in relationships. There is much to say about this. I think I should kickstart off with the king of age gap relationships.
Okay.
Drumroll, please. Hugh Hefner and his bunnies.
Oh, God. King of the patriarchy.
Yes.
Lack of female emancipation.
Yes. All of that.
So, like, obviously, the older man with a younger woman thing has basically existed since the dawn of time. It's not a new concept that he invented, but I do feel like he entrenched that image in popular culture.
Exactly, he did. And, I mean, let's just do some context, okay? Hugh Hefner founded Playboy in 1953, and he kicked it all off with Marilyn Monroe. She was centerfold, and she wasn't nude. Nude playmates weren't photographed until 1972, so that was a little bit later on. So, Hef has been married to a student called Mildred Williams, okay? They got married in 1949.
That's a very 1940s name, Mildred, isn't it?
It's a beautiful name.
Yeah.
He later revealed that she allowed him to have sex with other women out of guilt because of her own infidelity.
So she'd already cheated.
She had already.
I wonder if, you know, that whole thing of like parallel universes and the butterfly effect. And
Yeah.
I wonder if the entirety of Hugh Hefner's helldom, Hugh Hellner, if you will,
Yes.
was spiraled and dawned from the fact that his first wife cheated on him.
Yeah, that was his villain era arc. So, Playboy gets, discovered, made, whatever.
Yeah.
The couple then divorced in 1959. So she only put up with this for a mere 6 years. She said...
Of the Playboy-ness.
Of the Playboy-ness.
Yeah, 10 years of marriage.
Yeah. She said, after that, I'm out. During this time, the Playboy Mansion was involved with many of the bunnies. We'll go back to the bunnies in a sec.
Yeah.
He then married one of the playmates
Yeah.
in 1986.
Yeah.
Her name was Kimberly Conrad. They were 36 years apart in age. He then later divorced her and then married Crystal Harris, 60 years his junior. They got married in 2012 and she remained with him until his death in 2017. So I want to know, when it comes to celebrities, why are younger or older partners so attractive? What is the sell? What is the pull? And you know what? I actually think celebrities try and normalize it. But that whole 60 years his junior thing...
60 years is hell.
Crazy!
Some people don't even live to 60 full stop.
What are you talking about? That's like 3 generations. That's insane.
Like, it's bad enough when someone dates someone that's older than their dad.
But older than your
granddad.
It's something else. Obviously, at that time, women were trying to be able to do what they wanted to do, whether it was through whatever they want to do with sex work or, you know, not be stay-at-home moms or whatever that looked like for them. And he kind of rode this wave and turned it into something it actually wasn't, and had a lot of these Playboy bunnies coming in under the pretense that, like, Hugh looks after us and he's Big Daddy Hugh, but he just
views them as so much less than, is the point.
He like fetishized the fact that they were young.
So young.
I think for a really long time, being a bunny was associated with like hot, sexy, cool chick. But when you look at it out, you know, more than that, it's actually...
Well, it's infantilizing, isn't it? So it's weird.
And there's like a big power play
hugely.
situation. And yeah, that's why I will never say like, oh, it was a feminist movement, because I just feel like as a man, he came in and took over, you know, the sexual revolution. And
they're so much more impressionable given that they're so young as well. I think particularly because a lot of them were brought in because it was an aspirational goal to them to be a bunny. They weren't coming from people who necessarily had connections and understanding of... I just think when you come in with blinkers on to that industry and that world without people around you to say, oh no, I think that what you're talking about there that happened is maybe not okay.
Yeah.
People get taken advantage of so much.
Yeah.
And I think so much is let slide because a lot of these women came from much lower socioeconomic backgrounds. Yeah. That it was, the power imbalance was so strong.
Huge. But it's also a shame that it still remains somewhat legendary.
I agree.
Do you know what I mean?
Well, I think the average bloke, if you chat to him, wouldn't see Hugh Hefner as
a problem.
Oh God, it'd be like, legend, all these fit women around him, and then he died.
Yeah. Shame.
I think you and I both aligned really just in the fact that I don't think we're not people who would deny sex work and people's sexual liberation, but I don't really see how this is anything, particularly with the documentaries and things that have come out about it. I don't think there's much to be able to defend this as particularly empowering.
No.
Maybe if, perhaps with slightly denying agency to some of the bunnies, if they go in knowing what they want to get from it, leverage that and then get something from it, that's a very different thing. But he and his principles and his motives, I don't think can ever be described as empowering.
Je agree.
Men can have children at any age, whereas obviously with women there's a biological period in which you're able to have children. So there's that strange thing that some, particularly celebs, you find like older rock starry types just are like, well, then I'll just keep having babies. So like Mick Jagger, for instance, perfect person to demonstrate that. Jerry Hall, who he met in 1976, was his first age gap relationship. She was 13 years younger than him. Okay. They had 4 kids together. But in 1999, Jerry ended things after another woman came forward about being pregnant with Jagger's child. Right. This woman, Luciana Jimenez, was 26 years his junior.
You said that fantastically.
Thank you. I hope I said it right. While married to Jerry Hall, he also had an ongoing affair with a model 24 years his junior. Yeah. Fast forward to 2014, and Mick met ballet dancer Melanie Hamrick. She is 44 years his junior. They got together and had a child in 2016. They're now engaged, and in total he has 8 children. Now, obviously, if you have kids with Mick Jagger, you and your family are set for life. Yeah. Is that the appeal? Is it a money thing? Or is it something else? Mick, I feel like, pursues these younger women. Right. Probably, you know, sells them the dream. He's probably very charismatic and he's charming. And he's, you know, he's Mick Jagger. He's a rock star. He's been around the block. And I think these women are like taken up and swooped up in it. I don't think they're thinking, cha-ching, let's have a baby with Mick Jagger. Fine. But then beyond that, how selfish is it of someone of his age to keep having children? Because I think if you're having children as a 70 or 80-year-old... Super selfish. Yeah. Your kid gets, 10, 20 years max with you? Yeah. Obviously, I know, sadly, parents die at all ages, but if you know that the cap that you have with your child is 20 years. Also, he said after his 8th kid, you get a bit out of practice. It's not like riding a bike. The more children you have, the more laissez-faire you get about them, to be honest. It's fun to have children at any age, but if you're working and always away, you don't get to enjoy it quite as much. Basically, I'm an absent father, rah.
Yeah. I feel like, I don't know, I do think it's a bit selfish, but I think also a lot of the women who he is dating, or they are younger, so they want to have a child. So it's also kind of like, what do you do in that? Do you know what I mean? I think he's like, I want to be with this beautiful, gorgeous girl.
And if she has a baby, so be it. I'm off on tour anyway, so who cares?
And she's like, I'm
false.
here and I would like to have a baby. So let's have a baby.
Yeah,
I think it's that.
So then, is dating an older partner beneficial? Like, do we...
There's
the main
older,
thing for me is
and then there's
close
Mick
to
Jagger.
death.
Yeah.
I think the financial security thing I do get.
Absolutely.
Like, that's, you know, even when I'm saying, like, the ideal would be someone who was 10 years older but looks my age.
Yeah.
Is primarily because they're likely to have their shit together.
Yeah.
Have gone through life a bit more, to be more grounded, I guess, hopefully. And also financially be in a place that 30-year-old them would not have been.
Yeah. Do you know what I think would be ideal? If I was to date older, it would be, let's say I am 40 years old. I've done my career. I've probably popped out maybe 2 babies. I've found a man who I really like. He is retired. I do not have to work a day in my life. We just travel the world together.
But that doesn't necessarily even mean he's older.
Yacht.
If he's just got loads of money and he retires when he's 48, then he's only 8 years older than you anyway.
Exactly.
Like, I know a couple of people in finance who've already retired. In their like late 30s.
That would be ideal. Like, we just travel, we see the world. Cool, great. But I can't see myself, you know, at my current age being with a 70-year-old man.
I guess then we're saying youth is, if you're dating someone much younger, you're like, it's this proximity to youth, probably.
Yes.
And if you're dating someone older, we're generally presuming that comes part and parcel with wealth and security.
Security, yeah, I agree.
Want to delve into more celebrity stories?
Well, Stacey Dooley and Larry Dean analysed some of the most crazy, shocking and downright absurd celebrity trials and controversies, both in court and by public opinion, in their podcast, Famously on Trial.
Listen to every episode on BBC Sounds. It's also probably worth discussing the distinction between those cases of people who always date much younger people and those who it's more just a one-off.
Yes.
Because, like, even when I'm saying in my example, I've only ever dated people who've been around my age, but if I suddenly dated someone who was 45, I don't think I would, like, that's just like, oh yeah, it happened. You know what I mean? I'm not out searching for someone who is pushing 50.
It's not part of my criteria.
No.
Yeah.
So if we're saying someone that always dates younger women, we know who we both have in mind, right?
I think we both have a name in mind.
We're, of course, talking about Leonardo DiCaprio. So, in 1993, he kicked off his career with This Boy's Life. The hit song at the time was Whitney's I Will Always Love You. Friends also launched. Charles and Diana began their divorce. It was a big old year.
Big year.
Year before I was born, actually, so that makes sense that it was chaos. Leo's first age gap relationship was in 2005 to 2010, Bar Raffaelli, who I only ever know because of, what's that Kanye? Bar Raffaelli, Brazil. No, that's Brazilian.
Baby, I have no idea.
Is it White Dress? Anyway, she's 11 years younger than him.
Sure.
He has never, as we touched on, never, ever, ever dated a woman over the age of 25. Have you seen that graph?
Yeah.
Online?
Where
basically,
his age...
the line goes like this of women that he dates, like either stays the same or goes low.
Yeah.
And his, obviously, as time progresses,
is
goes
going up. Yeah.
And it ends up making quite an acute angle.
Is it saying that he only goes for women whose frontal lobes have not developed, or his own never fully developed?
I think...
Therefore, he has just stayed at the age of 25 mentally, but physically...
So we're almost diagnosing him with a condition he doesn't know that he has. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm throwing out...
Have we performed a lobotomy on DiCaprio?
I'm throwing out potential, situations that because this is an odd thing to happen, that he doesn't date anyone under 25.
And he's currently dating a 25-year-old woman who is 24 years younger than him.
She'll be gone soon.
Well, of course she will when she turns 26.
Yeah. On her birthday. See you, love.
Yeah, innit.
Toodles.
Oh my God, your frontal lobe's massive.
Yeah.
Ta-ra. Yeah, so there's something about this dynamic that, it's mainstream discourse because everybody has seen that graph, that it stayed there.
Yeah.
So how problematic do we think big age gaps are when it comes to power?
I mean, they're problematic.
Yeah.
It's problematic. To say it doesn't matter, I think is very much so untrue, and we'll talk about it later. But when there's a power dynamic, whether it's a boss, whether it's age, whatever it is, you naturally hold more power over this person because you have lived longer, you have more years of wisdom, you have more whatever, which means sometimes people are a little bit easier to mold.
I agree. I wonder, Devil's Avocado,
Go on.
If you could say, given that he is so famous and it's such a known thing, that women can go into that with the view of leveraging that relationship to become so much more. Because, like, for instance, for all the things that Julia Fox had done prior to Kanye, she really elevated herself by dating Kanye.
Absolutely.
And more power to her, may I say.
Yeah. I love her.
So, Julia.
Yeah.
Is there something to be said about his example, so well known? You can't go into that with blinkers on because it's basically science at this point that he dates 25-year-olds.
I think at this point, anyone who dates Leo is either one of two. She's either the type who is like, I'm going to use this to elevate my career. I'm going to get myself to the Met. I'm going to be at the Oscars. I'm going to look good, beautiful gowns, and elevate, myself.
And also, beyond all that, live a very fun life, probably, whilst doing it.
Oh,
like,
he looks
jumping
like
off
he's a
yachts
hoot.
in Saint-Tropez, minted.
Yeah. So she's like, that's what I'm going to do. Or she is somewhat delusional and thinks that she's the one who is going to change the storyline, the
course of history.
She is going to be his Amal Clooney.
Right.
She's going to be the one who gets him, locked in, stays with him
Well,
to
Victoria's
26.
got a few months left.
Victoria girl, we're rooting for you, babe.
Listen,
we're
we
for
are
you.
rooting and tooting.
If you get to 26 and he's still in there, I'll eat my own words.
I'll eat my hat.
I'll eat my sock.
I'll eat my damn sock. Yes.
I was going to add another one, but I had nothing.
Yeah, that's fine.
That's it.
I also do think if you go into this as knowing that you're okay with just having a fling, then is that not just fine? Like, if you just literally go in and be like, look, I'm fit.
Yeah.
I'm fit and flirty. I've got double Fs. And I just want to have fun and get flung off a boat in a fun way, like jump into the sea in Saint-Tropez. Do you know what I mean?
Oh my gosh, then more power to you. That is female empowerment.
That is female empowerment.
Yes.
Hugh Hefner could never, but that's what I'm getting at. That's what I'm saying.
No, I agree. I think if you are well aware of it, fine.
What a life.
But
imagine that at 25.
At 25, but
for you, that's quite a while ago, but for me, that was only 4 years ago, and that just would not, that would have been so great.
Okay. No, righty. No. Listen, if you as a woman have decided, I'm young, I'm going to do this, go for it.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's the case most of the times.
Okay.
Unfortunately.
No, I agree with you. I agree.
Unfortunately, I think Mr. Leo sells these little girlies a dream.
Yeah.
And they eat it up.
I'm inclined to agree.
Obviously, we've spoken about Leo and his girlfriend, and they've got 24 years between them.
Gaggle of 25-year-olds, yeah.
Exactly. I want to look at another relationship where the dynamic actually looks at the older person being a woman and the younger person being a man.
Yeah.
And I think you know who I'm talking about.
I do.
It is the one, the only, Sam and Aaron Taylor Johnson. Let me start off with, we are in 2008. Twilight has just launched. Obama is the first black president of the United States. Beyonce has become sachet.
She's become a sachet of ketchup. Sachet away.
Beyonce has become Sasha Fierce, and Katy Perry famously kissed a girl and
oh God, she liked it.
Oh, she loved it.
My God, did she like it?
Oh, she did.
Don't blame her.
So we've got Sam Taylor Wood, who is a director. She actually met Aaron whilst directing her debut film, Nowhere Boy, in 2008. She was previously married to some man called Jay. Love you, Jay. Shout out to you. But you're kind of not important in this. She does have 2 daughters. One of them is 6 years younger than Aaron.
That's great.
That is a fantastic place to start.
So good. Yeah, well done, Sam.
So Aaron has been an actor since he was about 6 or 7 years old, but his breakout role was for Angus Thongs and Perfect Snogging, which, can I just say, has such a huge place in my heart
Totally
because
agree.
I loved that movie.
Every British film of that ilk is trying to be that now, and nothing will ever top it.
Nothing will ever.
Olive.
They met on the set of Nowhere Boy, where Aaron was playing the lead. Now, he was 18.
Cool.
She was 42. 42.
Mm-hmm.
They've addressed their relationship publicly.
Yeah.
Which mostly amounts to nothing happened while we were filming.
Which I believe.
Which, sure. He was a legal adult and we don't care what anyone says. The fact that you have to say...
that is the word. Yeah, that's it.
He was a legal adult. Already we have an issue. Directors and their actors have relationships all the time. It's quite an intimate relationship. You know, you're talking to them every day. They're coaching you through. Basically, they see you at your most vulnerable.
Yeah.
The fact that not only was she technically his boss, I guess, in some way, he's young, she's directing him. It's a very intimate relationship. There is also a huge age gap. And they've kind of tried to normalize it. Also, her child is 6 years young.
I know.
He should be dating her daughter. That would make more sense.
I agree. I do wonder, I know obviously this would be an issue if a man was 42 and a woman was 18.
Yeah.
But I wonder if we're seeing it as even more of a thing because it's so alien to us.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if that has a part to play. And then again, does misogyny play a factor into it? Because I think sometimes there's the opposite where it's almost like, oh my God, what a legend.
Yeah.
You know, that whole thing of when kids have been groomed at school by boys, groomed by female teachers.
Yes.
Half the time the comments online are really unnerving of wait, what a legend, he shagged his teacher. And it's absolutely not. We know that if the roles were reversed, this would be hell.
Problem.
So I wonder which way our minds go on this one, because I don't think anyone does view it as whoa, what a legend.
No.
It's uncomfortable.
I think.
But how much more or less uncomfortable than if it were exactly the same age gap, exactly the same situation with a male director and a female director, would we feel there was more coercive pressure? I
think personally, and I can only speak for me, it absolutely is the same across the board. But I do think societally, it's to do with misogyny, but I think it's also to do with the role women take in life, that she's always seen as the caregiver and a motherly figure, and men are seen usually as sexual deviants, and so when a man does it to a younger woman and that's the age gap, it's kind of men are so creepy,
right?
That's just how men are. But when a woman does it, it's we expected more from you because as a woman,
and a mother.
But this one, I'm not going to lie, people talk about this relationship all the time. I always see it come up on my TL all the time on Twitter. I just think it's one of those phenomena where people are just kind of I can't believe they're still together. I can't believe they're still together. So we've spoken about gender in context of heterosexual age gaps and relationships, and explored how and why it feels different when we are looking at an older man and an older woman. But what about in same gender relationships? Is there a difference?
I think there is.
Okay.
Yeah. But I also think it's not as carte blanche, is that the right term, to just say queer relationships, because I think there's also a difference between female-female relationships, male-male relationships.
Right.
And then obviously we aren't probably going to touch on this, but then they're not the only genders in the world, right?
Yes. Let's start with actors, Sarah Paulson and Holland Taylor.
Love. Another Taylor.
Another Taylor.
Another Taylor.
It's 2015, Taylor Swift's Girl Squad.
Another Taylor.
And the Bad Blood music video is all over the place.
Yeah.
Caitlyn Jenner has just done the cover of Vanity.
Yeah.
And Adele's album 25 is out. Banger.
I went to see that tour.
Also, the classic dress debate, black and blue or white and gold.
White and gold.
Black and blue.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Anyways, Sarah Paulson and her bae, they met at a dinner party in 2005.
Yeah.
10 years later, in 2015, Holland slides into Sarah's DMs. In 2016, the relationship is confirmed. There is a 32-year age gap between them.
Yeah.
Now, Sarah is 49. Holland is 81.
Right. So this
It's different.
Yeah, it's so different.
It's different.
But it also would be in a straight relationship at this point. I think in either direction.
In either direction.
If Holland was the man or the woman in a straight relationship.
Yes.
49 and 81. 49, she's 50 years old.
50.
You're probably over halfway through your life of an average person's life. You know what you're doing.
Yeah.
I also think in sapphic relationships, I think...
Sapphic?
Women loving women.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
I've learnt something new today.
And I think that there is something to be said about the way that women can know each other. Mm-hmm. I think is more intuitive than any other kind of relationship.
Okay.
Like my lesbian friends who are in relationships, the way that they describe the strength of their relationships is far more deep. Doesn't even do it. It's like a disservice. It's just the way that they know each other and they're kind of, kind of like we joke about like women's intuition, whatever, but kind of to be able to pair that together in a successful relationship, I think is stronger than anything.
Wow.
Stronger than gay male relationships, certainly stronger than straight relationships. Yeah. So therefore, I just kind of think I view theirs as A, because it was so much later in life, not an issue. Yeah. But B, I just think, great, good for them. Because obviously all that we really know of celebs, of actors, is the roles they play and the interviews that they are in.
Oh, they do.
Holland carries herself as a very established woman.
Yes.
And all the roles I've seen her in have been roles with vim. Yeah. And she's the boss bitch who walks around and talks in a kind of like old school mid-Atlantic accent. Mm-hmm. And her whole being, whether she's acting or not, to me exudes just an air of confidence and an understanding of the world. Yeah. In a way that, then also being a massive fan of Sarah Paulson, who is a fantastic actress and great in interviews. And there's just something about them that I just think in either way, in my very, dumbed down opinion, because obviously I don't know them at all, I can't see either of them taking advantage of the other in any way, shape or form. Yeah. And that's I think where the crux of the age gap thing, it's about power imbalance. And I think this is an example that shows you don't inherently have a power imbalance if you have an age imbalance. Agreed.
And I think also, like we're saying, obviously they are same-sex relationship, but they are two women. I do wonder what it's like when it's two men in this same position.
A couple like Stephen Fry and Elliott Spencer, so that's a gay male relationship. Yeah. They met at a house party in 2012. Yeah. They got married in 2015. They've been very private about their relationship. Yeah. So Stephen Fry has been public for a number of years about his sexuality, but he's spoken about his struggles with it as a teenager and his mental health. Mm-hmm. So perhaps there's something in the generational understanding of both of these things that drew him to someone younger. Mm-hmm. I think I've spoken to you before about how I feel sometimes there's a tendency for gay men to be a little bit reductive, I think, and lean on that whole, because I didn't have my teenage years because they were filled with angst and strife and troubles with my sexuality, which was me. Like, I wasn't out when I was at school. I think there's sometimes a tendency to lean into, so therefore I'm like living my younger years now as a 20-something or a 30-something. Yeah. And whilst I understand that mindset to an extent, and like I definitely go out more than my straight age mates. Yeah. Who are generally more settled down, more likely to now be getting married and having kids and stuff. I'm very single. I still don't... At what point do we draw the line with that? Yeah. And at what point can you just always be reducing it back to chasing what you wish you had as a kid?
I hear that.
And I think, like, when being openly gay was a taboo, older men would sometimes help younger men to get to know the scene, almost in a, not necessarily in a taking advantage way, but in a like...
Mentor.
Mentor, exactly. Yeah. Showing them the ropes and stuff. So I think there historically have been a lot of age gaps in gay relationships. I think there's also the thing to be said about when, if ever, people come out. Because if you are someone, let's say 25 and 50, if you're 25 and you grew up in a really loving family who were completely accepting of your sexuality and from about 11 or 12 knew that you were different, and maybe at 14, 15 put the words, even publicly, and said, I'm out or whatever, I'm queer, gay, whatever, you've then got at least 10 years by the age of 25 of coming to terms with your sexuality. Yes. If you're a 50-year-old who has never publicly addressed it, or in the last couple of years has gone, oh my God, I've realised I'm gay, or I'm finally comfortable saying I'm gay, or whatever that is the imbalance different because you're looking... Because even like I understand some of the mindset where I'm 29 and I look to, like, I do some teaching, academic teaching and stuff, and I'll talk to some 12 and 13-year-olds who are so comfortable in themselves and are like, oh yeah, I have a couple of friends who are non-binary, and I know this trans person who's 17, and it's just like, I can't believe
the world
that they're conversations that they're so comfortable to have, and I'm so happy that they are.
Yeah.
And I am... Envious is maybe too strong a word because I don't wish to be in their position. I'm happy where I am in my life, but it would have been lovely to have felt that comfortable at that age because I wrestled with it for a long time. So I think to be someone that is so comfortable in themselves at 25, maybe not to go old soul on it, but maybe it feels like there's much less of a 25-year age gap when so much of your life as a queer person does revolve around your sexuality because it's such a point of difference to the rest of society.
It's almost like 25-year-old Hugh in this situation with Stephen is, as in Elliot, has almost taken Stephen under his wing.
Right.
And is the mentor because
in a sexuality sense. And Stephen can, obviously, as such an intelligent person anyway, be shown in the ropes in other ways. So then maybe the balance is more redressed.
Yeah, I think he's kind of learning like all the stuff that I wish I had learned in my 20s, so I could become more comfortable and, you know, as who I am.
Yeah.
I think Elliot may be showing him there's that world where, you know, Elliot's like, oh, been here, done that. Let me show you, you know, what it means to be out, proud, gay, whatever. So, like we were saying, maybe there's less of an imbalance because of that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Perhaps. I do think that it's always just such a huge difference. If we were talking about 18 and 40, I personally think there's such a difference between 18 and 25 that it being 25 and 50 rather than 18 and 50 or even 18 and 40 makes it more comfortable. I wouldn't want to date anyone under... I mean, honestly, I don't really want to date anyone younger than 28.
No.
As in, like, I just don't know what I've got in common with someone that's 2 or 3 years younger than me.
I went through a cougar phase once.
Did you?
I did. And I dated, how old was I? I think I was 20.
41.
Oh, stop it. I was 26. And I went on a date with a 22-year-old. And it was the most hellish 2 hours of my life. And I thought to myself, I never want to do this again.
Why, God?
Why, God, why? And then he insisted I add him on Snapchat.
Did he pay?
He insisted. He did pay. He did. And then, he Snapchat.
Cool.
And I was like, this is interesting.
Did you have to re-download it?
I had to press the little ghost, and then it did the little buffering and it re-downloaded. And then I gave him he did the QR code. He QR coded my Snapchat.
Oh, like a menu?
Yeah, like a menu. Downloaded it and...
A post-COVID menu.
He kept saying, this is sick, man. This
no,
is
he didn't.
sick.
No, he didn't. No, he didn't.
This is sick, man. And I
said...
said...
babes, what's your Snap? He actually did that.
Yeah. So, you know, I've done my cougar phase. Not for me.
Fine.
Not
the way
for
that I was expecting the salacious story, your cougar phase is one date with someone 4 years your junior.
And I learnt my lesson.
Fine.
Won't be going back.
No, that's all right.
Each to their own. But yeah, I've lived and I have a story to tell.
You've laughed and you've loved.
So you can add me to the list next time.
I won't be adding your Snapchat though.
Okay. So we've gone through such a journey here. We've unpacked a lot of stuff, Jack. Where's your head at? What are your final conclusions here?
Everything about relationships is just nuance, isn't it?
Nuance.
You can't there's no hard and fast rule.
No.
You know, it's not always the older person is more powerful than the younger in whatever way it is. What I will say is, if it's legal, it's fine. Get in the bin. If that is ever your explanation of he was, whatever, 18 at the time, bin.
Immediately.
And you should know in saying that.
Why are you saying that?
Yeah.
Don't do that.
I don't think there's ever a line to be drawn in terms of, obviously, with legality, in terms of, you know, we need to stratify what an adult is versus a minor. I get all that. But in general of dating, of like, what's too young, what's too old, I think it's all relative to a person. I don't think we can say, as a 27-year-old, you shouldn't be dating older than X. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's personal to you, isn't it?
Yeah. However, I will say that I think before you get into any relationships, just ask yourself, like, is there an imbalance here? Is this person gaining something or losing something from me being with them? And, you know, is it a power move, like the girlies who might be dating Leo, to get their careers springboarded? Like, just know why you're going into something. But it's so nuanced that live and let live really and truly is where I stand.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, they are.
They are. Thanks so much for watching. You can listen to Famously in Love on BBC Sounds and watch on the BBC Sounds YouTube channel.
And remember, for more in-depth celeb stories and controversies, listen to Famously on Trial on BBC Sounds with Stacey Dooley and Larry Dean.